Hello, dear viewers, and welcome back to the channel, where we meticulously unravel the intricate dramas unfolding behind the gilded gates of the British monarchy. Today, we delve into a seismic shift within the House of Windsor, a painful yet necessary reckoning that saw King Charles III forced to make a profound and difficult decision regarding his younger brother, Prince Andrew. We are covering the inescapable truth that the Duke of York's long-running entanglement with scandal has finally reached a critical, unsustainable point. The pressure from the public and royal commentators has culminated in a definitive action, fundamentally altering Andrew's relationship with the crown and cementing his effective banishment from the core of royal life. This isn't merely about titles, it's about the very credibility and survival of the institution itself. Before we fully immerse ourselves in the details of this crucial decision and the factors that necessitated the sovereign's intervention, please take a moment to show your support. Do remember to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you never miss our in-depth explorations of royal affairs. Your engagement helps us bring these detailed narratives to light. The unbearable weight of scrutiny. For years, the figure of Prince Andrew, the former Duke of York, has cast a long, troublesome shadow over the otherwise carefully curated image of the British royal family, often affectionately referred to as the Firm. While the late Queen Elizabeth II maintained a protective stance over her second son, the accession of King Charles III signaled a new, more pragmatic era, one where institutional stability and public perception would take absolute precedence over familial sentiment. The catalyst for the latest decisive action was the culmination of relentless public demands. On the 17th of October, a date now etched into the recent history of this ongoing royal crisis, the royal family finally acknowledged and acted upon an urgent, overwhelming plea. This plea, voiced loudly and persistently by millions of Britons and echoed across the globe by several prominent royal experts and commentators, was unambiguous. The disgraced member of the House of Windsor must be completely stripped of all remaining official trappings and honors. The monarchy, often slow to react to internal turbulence, could no longer ignore the clamor. The sovereign, King Charles, along with the most senior members of the royal establishment, found themselves compelled to convene and deliberate on a course of action that would safeguard the crown's reputation, even if it meant inflicting deep personal pain upon a family member. The discussions held behind palace walls were undoubtedly tense, revolving around the absolute necessity of removing this persistent source of negative publicity. The statement and the surrender of the title. In what was framed publicly as a voluntary surrender, Prince Andrew released a statement designed to mitigate the damage. In this carefully worded announcement, the prince declared that he would formally cease using his primary noble designation, the title of the Duke of York, along with any other remaining honors. The rationale provided in the statement was instructive. Andrew claimed this action was taken in order not to overshadow the good work done by the royal family. While this phrasing suggests a selfless motivation, a concern for the charitable endeavors and public service of his relatives, the reality, as understood by palace insiders, was far more coercive. This was not a choice made out of noble sacrifice. It was an ultimatum delivered by the king. The title, a prestigious designation typically reserved for the monarch's second son and steeped in centuries of history, had become an albatross around the neck of the institution. The removal of the Duke of York usage is a momentous symbolic step following his earlier loss of military affiliations and HRH, His Royal Highness status, back in early 2022, when he faced the civil lawsuit brought by Virginia Giuffre. The fact that the royal family felt compelled to further distance him, demanding the cessation of his most recognizable title, underscores the gravity of the situation and the depth of the public's enduring distrust. The genesis of the scandal, Epstein and Giuffre. To truly appreciate the magnitude of the king's decision, one must revisit the origins of Prince Andrew's fall from grace. For years, the prince has dominated negative international headlines, primarily stemming from his notorious association with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The details of this friendship, or rather, this entanglement, which spanned years and involved travel and social interaction in highly questionable circles, were laid bare for the world to see. The revelations of Andrew's visits to Epstein's various properties, even after Epstein's initial conviction, caused severe reputational damage. Compounding this crisis was the devastating public accusation made by Virginia Giuffre. Miss Giuffre alleged in specific, harrowing detail that Prince Andrew had sexually assaulted her on multiple occasions when she was a teenager, having been trafficked by Epstein. While Andrew consistently and vehemently denied all of Miss Giuffre's claims, the public fallout was immediate and catastrophic. His attempts to clear his name, most notably through his disastrous 2019 interview with BBC Newsnight, only served to exacerbate the crisis, leading to widespread accusations of evasiveness, lack of empathy, and a profound failure to understand the seriousness of the allegations against him. The subsequent civil lawsuit filed by Ms. Giuffre in the United States forced the ultimate separation between Andrew and his public duties. Although the case was settled out of court for a substantial, undisclosed sum, a settlement that Andrew has always maintained was not an admission of guilt. The damage was irreparable. The cost to the monarchy, both financially and in terms of trust, was immeasurable. The king's patience wears thin. The email leak. Just when it seemed the situation could not deteriorate further, recent times brought fresh embarrassment and further justified the king's final intervention. The former husband of Sarah Ferguson, Andrew, found himself once again facing intense scrutiny after new evidence, specifically an email correspondence, was leaked to the media. This particular email, sent to a controversial financier whose activities raised serious ethical red flags, was highly damaging. Crucially, the content and context of this communication were interpreted by the press and the public as portraying both King Charles and the senior members of the royal family in an extremely negative light. The leak suggested, whether through implication or explicit detail, that Andrew continued to leverage his former royal status and connections, and potentially those of his immediate family, in ways that compromised the ethical standards of the crown. This incident struck at the heart of the king's new reign, which is focused on transparency, modernization, and reducing the cost and controversy associated with the monarchy. For King Charles, who has worked meticulously for decades to establish his reputation as a conscientious and responsible figure, the idea that his brother's ongoing questionable associations were now actively undermining his own authority and public image was the final straw. It necessitated immediate, drastic measures to cut off the source of the infection. The royal ultimatum and the banished brother. The pressure on Prince Andrew was not merely external. It became intensely personal and institutional. According to highly reliable sources, including an account reported by The Mirror, a private and deeply serious meeting took place where Andrew was confronted directly by senior royals, potentially including the king himself. The message delivered was an ultimatum, stark and unforgiving. Andrew was asked plainly what else was likely to emerge from his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. This was the core question that determined his future. Was there more scandal waiting in the wings? Were there more uncomfortable truths, more damaging associations, or more incriminating communications yet to surface? Andrew's response was the most concerning element of all. He reportedly stated that he could not give any guarantees. This inability to provide assurance sealed his fate. The sovereign and his advisors could not risk the institution being blindsided by another wave of negative revelations. The monarchy operates on confidence, consistency, and a carefully maintained distance from the murky world of high-profile financial and personal scandals. Andrew's uncertainty meant he remained a ticking time bomb. As one insider shared, summarizing the collective sentiment within the palace, "The scandal has engulfed the royal family for far too long, forcing the king to intervene and effectively banish him from royal life." The concept of banishment here is critical. It does not necessarily mean physical removal from the royal estates. Andrew still maintains his residence at Royal Lodge. But it signifies a total and irreversible severance from official duties, institutional support, and any pretense of being a working royal. He is now, in essence, a private citizen with the lingering, complicated title of a prince, forever marginalized and reliant on the king's private purse for his continued maintenance. Khan, the looming threat, the posthumous memoir. If the present situation were not grim enough for Prince Andrew and the monarchy, a significant future threat looms immediately on the horizon, likely accelerating the king's recent forceful decisions. Andrew's nightmare is far from over because Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoir is scheduled for publication imminently. The memoir is set to be released this upcoming Tuesday, meaning the royal family has mere days to prepare for what could be yet another devastating wave of disclosures. A posthumous memoir carries a particular weight, offering a final, unfiltered perspective from the accuser. Given Ms. Giuffre's long, persistent, and detailed allegations, the expectation is that this book will contain more shocking details than those already made public through the court filings and interviews. The potential damage to the monarchy from this publication is immense. Every new piece of information, regardless of whether it leads to legal action, causes further erosion of public trust and forces the palace to expend precious resources on damage control. The release of this memoir is viewed within royal circles not just as an unfortunate media event, but as a significant institutional threat, causing more damage to the already strained public image of the monarchy. It is highly probable that the king's urgent decision on October 17th to finalize the stripping of Andrew's remaining status was a preemptive move, a way of signaling to the public just before the memoir hits the shelves that the institution has already taken the most severe action possible against the prince, thereby attempting to insulate the crown from the anticipated fallout. King Charles's strategic priorities. The actions taken by King Charles III reflect a strategic imperative to slim down the monarchy and ensure the highest standards of conduct among the core working royals. Unlike his late mother, who often prioritized personal loyalty and a desire for reconciliation, Charles is demonstrating a steely commitment to the long-term health of the institution. The ongoing Andrew scandal drains resources, monopolizes media attention, and distracts from the vital work undertaken by Charles, Queen Camilla, the Prince and Princess of Wales, and other key members of the family. By forcing Andrew to relinquish his titles and effectively banning him from royal life, the king is sending an unmistakable message. There is no room for compromise when the integrity of the crown is at stake. The monarchy must appear unified, ethical, and focused on service. Prince Andrew's inability to guarantee that no further damaging information would emerge made him an intolerable liability. His removal, though painful for Charles as a brother, was viewed as essential governance. The king is consolidating power and ensuring that the narrative of his reign is one of stability and responsibility, not continuous crisis management related to past misdeeds. The symbolic weight of the Duke of York title is also significant. Historically, it is a title that implies a certain seniority and readiness to support the sovereign. By demanding its disuse, Charles signifies that Andrew is deemed permanently unfit for any such role, now or in the future. He is, for all intents and purposes, relegated to the periphery, a figure seen but never officially heard or endorsed by the crown. Conclusion: a painful necessity. What we have witnessed is not just a family disagreement, but a painful constitutional and public relations necessity. Prince Andrew's failure to reassure King Charles regarding the full extent of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, coupled with the relentless pressure from the British public, necessitated the crucial decision made by the senior royals on October 17th. The result is Andrew's formal severance from his remaining royal honors and a definitive banishment from the operational heart of the monarchy. The immediate threats posed by the recent email leak and the looming publication of Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoir this Tuesday only reinforce the wisdom and the urgency of the king's intervention. Charles has drawn a clear line in the sand, prioritizing the reputation of the crown over the comfort of his brother. This event certainly gives us much to reflect upon regarding the evolving standards expected of modern royalty and the intense scrutiny that every action, past or present, now faces. The price of proximity to the throne, as Prince Andrew has learned perhaps too late, is absolute accountability. We want to hear your perspective on this monumental decision. What are your thoughts on King Charles's decisive action? Do you believe this banishment is sufficient? Or should the monarchy take further steps to permanently strip Andrew of his princely status? Please share your opinions and insights in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for our next detailed celebrity and royal update as we continue to track the developments within the House of Windsor. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to reading your comments. Goodbye for now.